spranotu amritasya devadharano bhuyasam shariram me vicharshanam jihva me madhumattama karnabhyam bhuri vishruvam brahmana koshosi medhaya pihitaha shrutam me gopaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Aham Vrikshasya Reriva Kirti Prishtham Gireriva Urdhva Pavitro Vajineva Swamritamasmi Dravinagam Savarchasam Sumedha Amritokshitaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sapagaya cha dharmasya sarvadharmasvarupine avatara varishtaya Ramakrishnaya te namaha. Jananim Sharadam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Padapadame tayo sritva pranamami muhurmuhu. Namah Shri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukhaswarupaya Swamine Tapaharine Kalinde Pullakamale Madhavena Kridarata Brahmananda Namastubhyam Sadguru Lokanayaka Yogananda Premananda Shanye Vai Echa Parshada Ramakrishna Gata Prana Sarvan Stan Pranamamyaham. Hey, Amarta, you can help me. So welcome to the second day. I wish you had stayed for a few more days. Second day, third day, fourth day. But even then, small is beautiful. In the Bharatvarsha, we have what are called sutra literature. Sutra is aphorisms. They don't explain in detail, but the aphoristic message is also beautiful. So before Revered Maharaj begins to talk about Vijnanamaya and Anandamaya, so I will briefly discuss various concepts. These are different paradigms, Vedanta, Veda, Tantra and so on. And it's futile to have comparisons between them. But even then, our curious human mind wants to draw some parallels. They're not comparisons, but some parallels. I take a Vedanta system, the Tantra system, and what the Vedas talk about, the sapta lokas. Vedanta talks about Om. All of you know, Om is the most important. Yes, Chandasam Rishabho Vishwarupaha. It is the most important mantra in the Vedantic tradition, in any Indian tradition, except perhaps Tantra. And Vedanta says, I draw it from Mandukya Upanishad, very short Upanishad comprising only 12 mantras. Supposed to be very profound. Gaudapada Acharya is the guru of Shankara's guru. He has written karikas, short explanatory verses on the Mandukya Upanishad itself. It begins by saying, Om ityetadam sarvam. Om is everything. Tasya upavyakhyanam bhutam bhavada bhavishyaditi. The past, present and future, all of them are contained in Om. Even beyond past, present and future, the timelessness is also contained in Om. In the Sanskrit grammar, A plus U becomes O. This is called Sandhi, joining of these two words, so letters. A plus U is O, and A, U, Ma is Om. The Mandukya Upanishad separates it this way. And they compare this with the three states of existence. You should remember the Upanishad are not philosophy or theology or religion per se. They are simple analysis of our daily life and experience. What do we experience in life every day? All of us are in the waking state, hopefully all of us in the waking now. And then we go to sleep. During sleep we dream. The three states of existence of human consciousness is waking, dream, and deep sleep, dreamless sleep. In Sanskrit they are called Jagrata, Swapna, and Sushupti. Now there is a very important principle which is fundamental to both science, ancient and modern science, as well as philosophy, Darshana Shastra, which is microcosm, macrocosm, unity or identity. Microcosm, which is very small, the smallest of the small, the atom, the particles, the subatomic particles, all of them are included in the microcosm in physical science. Our individual body is also microcosm. Now, the secret of the universe, how the universe was created, when it is going to be dissolved and so on, is not easy for us to understand. So what the ancient rishis did was to understand the microcosm. We have some idea of our body, of our mind and so on, and the idea of the atom. We are probing deeper and deeper into the atom, the quantum and so on. Now from there on, project it on to the macrocosm. This is called the projection principle. The projection principle from the micro to macro and back from macro to micro gives us the clue into both the creation of the huge universe as well as our individual existence. So this principle is very useful because in order to unravel the mystery of the macrocosm, you have to go through the microcosm, because microcosm we have some hold on and we believe that we have some idea of the microcosm. For example, I have some idea of my body, some idea of my individual mind and so on. So what the ancient did was, so I am confined in a physical body. Now, what about Ishvara, the macrocosmic spiritual principle, whom we call Ishvara or God? One way of thinking about him, who we do not know what he is, where he or she is. In India, it's she also. What you can perhaps do is to project from the microcosm. All of us have bodies. All the beings, living beings, the insects, the animals, the fishes, and everything has an individual body. Now collect all these bodies together. They call them aggregate, samashti, means aggregate, the combination of all the bodies. Imagine a person whose body is the aggregate of all the bodies of all the beings in the universe. He should be a huge person, huge in Sanskrit called Virat. Virat means something which is very huge, very large. So the Supreme Being can be conceived of as one possessing as his body the aggregate of all the bodies. Similarly, I have an individual mind. Every one of you has an individual mind. And every being in the universe has some kind of mind or intellect. Collect all of them, the aggregate of all the minds, all the intelligences of all the beings, living beings in the universe. And imagine that cosmic person has for his mind this cosmic mind. It's got a cosmic mind, a Virat Manas. And in Hinduism, as you know, we have the three-layered personality, the body, the mind, and the spirit. Mind is not identified with the spirit, as Revered Bhajananandaji was explaining yesterday. Mind and spirit are completely different. Mind is called jada, insentient, and consciousness, spirit, is chetana, chaitanya, conscious. So just like I have an individual consciousness, the Supreme Being is a collection of consciousnesses of all the beings in this universe. So you can think of a huge Supreme Person, if you believe in a personal God, whose body is an aggregate of the bodies of all the living beings in the universe, whose mind is an aggregate of all the minds and the intellects of all the living beings, whose spirit is a combination of the spirits of all the bodies. So he can be considered as the Supreme Being. And all of us form part of it. So the idea being, our individual body is not individual in that sense. As Swami Vivekananda explains in his Raja Yoga, my body, your body, all the bodies are whirlpools in the whole ocean of matter. There's an ocean of matter in which you are a whirlpool, you are a bubble here, my body, your body. All of us are interconnected with one another through the ocean. And that ocean is a supreme spiritual entity which is called Brahman, God, whatever. My mind, your mind, all the minds are interconnected, being parts of the cosmic mind. And my spirit, your spirit, all of them are connected to one another through the cosmic spirit. This is the idea of the microcosm-macrocosm equation, microcosm-macrocosm identity, microcosm-macrocosm unity, which is a very fundamental doctrine of both science as well as religion or philosophy. The whole scientific discovery across millennia have taken place through this principle of projection between the microcosm and the macrocosm. Most of the discoveries we can show belong to this category of trying to project from the micro to macro and back. Now, each one of these, A, U, Ma, you can see this here, A, U and Ma, corresponding to Jagrata, Swapna, Sushupti, can have two dimensions, the micro dimension and the macro dimension. Vyashti, microcosm, Samashti, macrocosm, and they give specific names for it. Why? Because when I say, I am now speaking to you, I am listening to your talk. Who is that I? Whatever is the I which we feel now. Now when I go to sleep and dream about this whole conference, and then say, I was listening to this in my dream. Which is that I? That I is not connected to the present waking I, because the waking I is now sleeping. Now when I go to deep sleep, and come back and say, I slept well, I just did not know anything. Sukham aswapsam nakanchitavedisham. I have two experiences in deep sleep. One is the experience of not knowing anything, that is ignorance, and the experience of having slept joyfully. Which is the eye who experiences that? So there's a mystery here. Is the eye which is now speaking before you in the waking state same as the eye which was dreaming? Is it the same as the eye which was in deep sleep? Are there three eyes? Is there a communication between these three eyes? Vedanta asserts, since you come and say, I slept well, I dreamt, that means all the eyes are interconnected, they have some communication. Or rather you may say, all the three eyes, I1, I2, I3, IW, ID and IS for waking, dream and deep sleep, these three eyes can be considered as modes of one supreme eye. Just like we talk about modes or phases, P-H-A-S-E, phase. In physics and mathematics, very common. H2O exists in three phases. It exists as water, it exists as ice, exists as steam. These three are not different, but they are phases of the same entity called H2O. Similarly, these three eyes are phases or the modes of the same eye. What is that supreme eye? Which exists both in the waking, dream and deep sleep, and that eye witnesses all these traits, both the micro and the macro. They gave a specific name for the I1, I2, I3. When I am speaking to you, I have a specific name. Each one of you has a name. So I1, I2, I3 also deserve to be given some names. They call it Vaishvanara or Vishwa, which is the name of the eye, the microcosmic eye in waking, and the corresponding macrocosmic eye is called Virat. And this is Taijasa. Taijasa means light, luminous. Because in dream, there is a light in which we see dreams. This is the proof of which the Upanishads, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad particularly, gives for the inner light. Maharaj will talk more about this today. The inner light which you have, is it true? I have not experienced the inner light, but I do experience the inner light in dreams. Svena bhasa, svena jyotisha, etc. in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishads. By its own light, the Atman sees dreams, enters into dreams. So there is no external light. There is an internal inner light. The proof that there is an inner light is given by your own experience of dream. And the corresponding to that you have called the Hiranyagarbha, which is Vedantic name. And the corresponding Sankhyan name for this is Mahat. This is often identified also with a cosmic being. Sometimes some schools identify with Ishvara also. And in Sushupti, the eye corresponding to sleep is called Pragya individually, and cosmically it is Ishvara. There is a school of thought which says there is no individual and collective, microcosmic and macrocosmic, as far as Sushupti or the causal state is concerned. These are called Sthula, waking state, gross objects which see, Sukshma in the subtle state, in the Swapna, in dream, because in dream all the objects that you see are only subtle. They are not concrete, they are not sthula, gross. And in Sushupti you have the Karana, the causal. Now this can be mapped onto the 5-layered personality of a human being as delineated by the Taittiriya Upanishad. This is a very remarkable discovery by the Rishis. Every human being has 5 layers, what they call the 5 cells. When you say I, does it refer to the body? I am not well. Which is not well? I have a toothache. Are you well? Oh, I am not well. Your tooths are not well, but why should you say I am not well? That means you're identifying the I with the tooth at that moment. One is the body called Annamaya. Anna means gross matter. Then I can shout at the top of my voice. Oh, you have so much of energy, vitality. The vitality is called prana. Maharaj will explain today how prana is a great discovery between the spirit and matter. And prana is life force, which is different from consciousness. These are subtle differences between the Western approach and the Bharatiya approach. The prana, when you eat food, just now you had your breakfast and you came here, who ate it? It is not the body, because body is only insentient matter. It is not the spirit, because spirit doesn't eat anything. Ashanaya, pipase, there is no hunger or thirst for the spirit. So something in between is eating all this. Who is that? That is called prana. Krut pipasa, hunger and thirst, belongs to the pranamaya. The first layer is the annamaya, gross matter. Second dimension of a human being is the pranamaya, the vital force. It is sometimes called the sheath or kosha. You must have heard about this. The idea of kosha does not exactly occur in the Upanishad per se. It's called the Atma, Annamaya-atma, Pranamaya-atma, Manomaya-atma, Vijnanamaya-atma and Anandamaya-atma. For a specific reason, to establish his philosophy of Advaita Vedanta, Bhagavan Shankara Bhagavatpada, he has used the word kosha or sheaths for these cells and called them as scabbard. In a sword, you have a kind of a case or scabbard in which you put the sheath and take it out. So these are similar to that. That's what he says. But we can go with the Upanishad statement of Annamaya-atma. Each is an independent self, as it were, governed by laws of its own. The body is governed by the physical laws, the prana is governed by the pranic laws, and so on. So Annamaya and Pranamaya, when you think thoughts, where do the thoughts reside? The next level they call it as the Manomaya. Manomaya is where thoughts reside. And added to this one more concept which Vedanta is very fond of talking about, which is Akasha. All of us are supposed to be in the physical Akasha called Mahakasha. Newton said, objects are in space. Einstein came and said, objects are not in space, objects are space. Space, time, and matter, they form a continuum. The presence of massive objects with huge gravitation distorts the space which is naturally curved. The curvature of space-time was a great discovery of Einstein. And therefore he talked about not space-time continuum as in the special theory of relativity, but space-time-matter continuum in the general theory of relativity. Vedanta doesn't dispute it, takes it as it is, and adds 2 more dimensions. Space, time, matter, life, consciousness continuum. Life is prana and consciousness is chaitanya. All of them form a continuum, the Taittiriya Upanishad. There is no gap between all this. Matter, space, time, prana, life and consciousness, they form one continuum without any break or hiatus. This is a very important idea to grasp, because in Advaita sometimes is misunderstood as saying, this is the Atman, that is Anatman. This is spirit, that is matter. These two are totally different. Shankara speaks in that voice also, but speaks in different voices when he interprets the Upanishads in different places. There is one continuous, homogeneous whole, which is consciousness, that can manifest at, say, various levels. This is the idea of Ramakrishna and Vivekananda. They called it the Vijnanavada. I will not go into that. Maharaj will explain it more. Sasthula Sukshma Karana. And these have been talked about as 5 cells. For some kind of mapping could be attempted. The Sthula is, of course, Annamaya, gross body, physical. The Sukshma is Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya. Pranamaya, which is responsible for eating and drinking, Kshut and Pipasa, hunger and thirst. Manomaya, which is the ideas. Just like we are the physical space now, what is the space in which thoughts reside? So many thoughts are constantly rising. They are not in physical space because subtle objects. Vedanta calls it as Chitta Akasha. Chitta is the mind. Chitta Akasha, the mind space. Just like objects remain in the physical space, this Akasha, Mahakasha, the thoughts reside in the Chitta Akasha, which is the mind space. And just like you can see objects here, you can create objects. Similarly, the mind also creates objects in dreams. In dreams, there is only consciousness present, operating through the mind, and it can project newer and newer objects. That shows a very interesting idea emerges from here. Consciousness has the capacity to divide itself into a subject and an object. Svena bhasa, svena jyotisha, etc. There is nothing but consciousness. It projects an object from there. And yogis, perhaps, in India, when you go to the borderland between waking and dream state, you can create an object just like we create. Suppose I think of a mango, I get a mango. I think of a building, I have a building in dream. Mango can be created now in the physical state by transposing the dream mango into the waking state. Some such thing they must have attempted. So object which is physical and object which is subtle are not two different things. Swami Vivekananda says in the inspired talks, matter is only externalized thought, which means thought is only internalized matter. So pranamaya, manomaya and vijnanamaya. From there on, you pass on to the realm of spirituality. Up to annamaya, pranamaya, manomaya, you are at the level of gross matter only or subtle matter, but still in the material plane. First realization which comes to you, this is all borrowed from Swami Bhajananandaji's talks for years he has taught us. He will explain this much more. You first realize yourself as a spirit living in the body. Now we are not conscious. We are a huge prison house of the body caught helplessly. You can't get out of the body. There is 9 holes from which you can get out, the eye or the ear and so on. But you can't jump out of your skin, as they say. You are caught here. When you go to the Vijnanamaya, for the first time you realize yourself as Jiva-Atman. Jiva-Atma means an individual self, a conscious entity living in the body. I am not the body, I am not the mind, but I am mind and body living, the mind and the spirit living inside a body. In Vedanta it is called a dehi, shariri. Sharira is the body, deha is also a body. Person who possesses this body, deha, is called a dehi. A person who possesses the sharira is called shariri. The first realization, as taught by Swami Bhajananandaji Maharaj, is that you realize yourself as a spirit living in a body at the level of Vijnanamaya. You realize there is a spark of the divinity. Yesterday he was explaining about it, and he'll explain more today, that you see a mysterious, uncreated light. And as Ramakrishna says, you will say, Eki, what is this? What is this light? And you will see the light as different from yourself. Your body and mind, but you will identify yourself with that light. This external light you see that totally different from me, but the inner light you will see, I am that light. That is the Vijnanamaya experience. And the Vijnanamaya is called Taijasa in the individual level because it is full of light. Hiranyagarbha, the cosmic being. And the Anandamaya, about which you wanted to know this time, Maharaj will speak about this. At the causal level, Anandamaya is beyond the Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya and Vijnanamaya. And according to some school, it has no individual microcosmic counterpart. It is always macrocosmic, Anandamaya. And Anandamaya is often identified with Ishvara, with the Supreme Being. According to the Advaita Vedanta, the state of realization called Turiya, beyond even Anandamaya. So these are very subtle secrets which Maharaj will explain more. And these, the Vedantic ideas which I have mentioned here, can be mapped onto the Vedic idea of sapta lokas. You must have heard Bhur Bhuva Swa, always we chant this. So the Bhur Loka is the physical Loka, corresponding to the Annamaya, the Sthula, and the Jagrata. Bhuvar Loka, Svar Loka, Bhuvar Loka may correspond to the Pranamaya, Svar Loka to the Manomaya, Maha, Jana, Tapaha, three lokas can correspond to Vijnanamaya, and Satya Loka is the Anandamaya. Now the Tantras speak about shat chakras. You must have heard about it definitely. Mooladhara, Swadhisthana, Manipura, Anahata-Vishuddha, Agya. These are 6 chakras. These also perhaps can be mapped roughly onto this. The Mooladhara is the Annamaya, Swadhisthana is the Pranamaya, Manipura is the Manomaya. Sri Ramakrishna says, ordinarily unawakened persons like us, who have not got the spiritual awakening as yet, they live in the Mooladhara, Swadhisthana and Manipura. And when we chant Bhur Bhuva Swa, it's called Mahavyahriti, before any mantra, for example, the Gayatri mantra, by indication, by implication called Upalakshana, it means all the lokas. Mooladhara, Swadhisthana, Manipura. Up to that, you live a gross, physical, sensual life. And in Manipura, you go to the idea level. That's also gross in a sense, but more subtle than the gross physical objects. After that, when you enter the anahata, Vijnanamaya first opens up. Vijnanamaya opens up at the level of anahata, and the yogis have the experience of listening to the anahata-dhvani, one mysterious sound followed by or preceded by a mysterious uncreated light. That light is not created. How is sound produced? By striking once against the other, sound is produced. Suppose I say, nothing is produced. It's called ahata, striking. So if some sound is produced without striking, it is anahata. If it is anahata, it has no beginning and end. In ahata, you have a striking begins and striking ends. In anahata, there is no beginning, there is no end. It's called anadi ananta. And therefore, it should be eternally existing. It is constantly existing. There is no time it stops, the time it began. So it is called the Shashvata Ananta, and the yogis say, Ramakrishna also mentions this, his own guru Totapari used to say, deep night, when everything is totally calm, says the yogis used to hear the anahata-dhvani. We are also supposed to be hearing. Constantly the dhvani is arising in us, in our hearts. Why is it we don't listen? Too much of noise within. So much of noise and clattering within, that noise, anahata-dhvani, is not heard. So as Maharaj used to explain to us, this dhvani in the form of sound and this anahata in the form of light are form-oriented. For form-oriented people, it is more a kind of light. For sound-oriented people, it is more the dhvani. And yogis have experienced, Maharaj himself, I think, has experienced. I would request him to talk briefly about his own experience also to explain it more. They get both the sound experience of anahata and the visual experience of the uncreated light. Maharaj used to say, Christian mystics also talk about the uncreated light, the lumin. Yesterday I was talking about the luminosity and so on. And Anandamaya is beyond this, in which there is no you, there is no I, there is no division. And you have jnana, knowledge, as a nirvisesha jnana. It's a very peculiar concept in Vedanta. Usually when you have knowledge, what is knowledge? I know you. There is an object and there is a subject. Subject knows the object. Now, can there be knowledge without subject and object? The Western philosophy perhaps will question this. But in Vedanta, it is clearly mentioned there can be just pure jnanam without jnata and gyeya. Yesterday, Revered Maharaj was saying this triputi, jnata, gyeya and jnana. You may also think of it this way. Einstein spoke about the matter being a curl in the continuum of space-time. In exactly the same way, you have an ocean of jnana, jnana samudra, ocean of pure consciousness, in which you, an object, I as a subject, all of them arise as waves or curls. There is only one unbroken, akhanda, vijnana ghana ekarasa. These are words used by Shankara. The pure consciousness, which is homogeneous, pure, and ever existing. That is the Anandamaya. And there you go to the Ajna Chakra is the Anandamaya. That is the place where avatars live. My idea. Now Sri Ramakrishna speaks about experience beyond that also. In between these two I put Bhava Mukha, which is the avatara, which is not the occasion now to discuss this. Now we can see these three states, A, U and Ma, and there is one which is beyond this, amatra. The Mandukya Upanishad speaks about amatras chaturtha, the fourth one which is amatra. Matra means a period of time, dimension. Now, Jagra, Swapna, Sushupti, beyond that there's a state called Turiya, which is avastha-traya sakshi, is the witness of the avastha-traya. And all of them arise from the famous Mahavakyas, which are Aham Brahmasmi and so on. The individual self and the cosmic self, the Brahman and the Atman, are identical. This is the essence of the Mahavakyas. It was the eternal credit of Swami Vivekananda, following Sri Ramakrishna's teachings, that this Mahavakya, Aham Atma Brahma, Ayam Atma Brahma, Aham Brahmasmi and so on, can be applied not only at the highest spiritual level, but the physical level, at the mental level, and the causal level. So if you apply it at the level of matter, then you get Vaishvanara Virat equation at the sthula level. Apply it at the subtle level, Sukshma, Tejasa Hiranyagarbha equation, and Prajna Ishvara equation. That means it is possible to apply the Mahavakya even at slightly lower levels, and not only merely at the physical level, for complete, total development of the human personality, individually and collectively. This is what Swami Vivekananda called the practical Vedanta. So Atman and Brahman are identical. The dimensions of the Atma, Vishwa, Tejasa and Pragya, dimensions of Brahman, Virat, Hiranyagarbha and Ishvara, and these are Sthula, Sukshma, Karana, Sharira. Turiya is Sharira-traya Atitas, beyond the Sharira-traya, three Shariras, and this Pancha-kosha Vilakshana, different from all the Pancha-koshas, five sheets, Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya, Loka Atita, beyond all the sapta lokas, and the sixth, the last one, which is not called a chakra per se, that is only the cosmic dimension, called the Sahasrara, which the Tantras speak about. And in between here, the avatara is sitting there, Bhava Mukha, who can have access to both the higher level beyond transcendental level, also the immanent level, which is here. So Sri Ramakrishna gives a beautiful example of a huge infinite wall, in which there is a huge hole. On the other side is the transcendental, infinite, and this side is the finite, absolute and relative together. And through the hole you can have a peep into the infinite, the absolute, and you can jump from this side to that side and come back again, which is the privilege granted to the avatars. And if you follow the avatars, Jesus Christ, for example, and Ramakrishna in our case, if you follow him sincerely, he may perhaps give a special pass by which you can pass from the infinite to the finite and come back. I just briefly explained this to you. Now, Revered Maharaj will explain more about this. Thank you. Particularly, these people wanted to know about the Vijnanamaya and the Anandamaya. Thank you so much.
Shall we have little meditation? Just 2 minutes. Love, then we think God is cruel or is not kind enough towards us. God as a pure spirit, as I said yesterday, that is to know that the nididhyasana, Saravana, Manana, nididhyasana. Nididhyasana is the method followed in Advaita Vedanta. Sravan, Manan, nididhyasan. Nididhyasan, what is nididhyasan, can be understood only from a competent guru or yourself when you struggle. So anyway, the nididhyasan has to be done through the Vijnanamaya-atma. So unless you get some kind of awakening, unless you come to know about Vijnanamaya-atma, you can't take up a spiritual quest seeking. The seeker in us is the Vijnanamaya-atma. It is Vijnanamaya-atma that longs aspiration, longs for God. And all the first spiritual experiences take place in the Vijnanamaya-atma. So what about the Anandamaya-atma? Anandamaya kosha or Anandamaya-atma, according to Panchadashi, Anandamaya-atma or Anandamaya kosha is the causal state, causal karana sharira, into which all the physical, the mental, emotional, they all merge. They merge into this Anandamaya-atma when we sleep. Sushupti kale sakale viline. What is that? Sushupti kale sakale viline. Anu Swarupameti. There is one word missing. Sushupti kale sakale viline. Everything merges in the Sushupti state, in the Karana Sharira. So, Anandamaya Kosha, Anandamaya Self is the causal body in us, into which all physical sense organs, everything merge, and then the last I will be there. When I also merges in the causal body, that is Anandamaya, then we go to sleep. Till the I consciousness, as long as the I remains awake, we are awake. When the I is gone, we go to sleep. Ramana Maharshi has given a wonderful example for this. He compares I to the hen. The fowl, the male, female fowl is called the hen. The hen, I was surprised. I saw in our neighbor's house in the evening, all the chicks come to the mother hen, and the hen will open her wings and accommodate all the chicks. All the chicks will go into the hen, and the hen will open her wings and accommodate all the kids. All the chicks go into. From outside you can't see a single chick. All the chicks have disappeared into her capacious womb or wings. Under her wings all the chicks go, and next morning she will lift the wings and all the chicks will come out. Nowadays all the chicks are hatched through machines. Heater machines are there. Once formerly hen used to brood over the chicks' eggs, and the eggs will hatch and the chicks will come out, and the mother hen will accommodate all the chicks under its arms. The same way I thought is the last thought to disappear. As long as I is there, you are awake. When I goes, then you go to sleep. That's why in meditation ends up very often. Meditation ends in sleep. The reason is, in meditation you try to go beyond I. And when I goes, the sleep automatically comes. So the starting point of the Ananda Vijnanamaya-atma ends in sleep. Anything more to know about? Yes. Vijnanamaya-kosha is about the inner light, the Atman. When spiritual awakening takes place, the first experience. What is the first experience? To know that you are spiritually awakened, as Maharaj said, in the case of people who are sound-oriented. In their case, they hear the unstruck sound, anahata-dhvani, goes on eternally. I saw in Yatishwaranandaji's diary, he was at that time staying in Wiesbaden in Germany. There he says, he writes in his diary, the place is very quiet, all around snowfall. And as in the case, as I used to hear also in Wiesbaden, everything is covered with snow. Nowadays, the Wiesbaden is warm. Climate change has taken place. It has become very warm and there is hardly any snow. But commonly there used to hear snow was there. And he used to hear anahata-dhvani is like the ringing of the bell, not handbell, but the big bell you see in the temples and in the, I don't know how many of you gone to the Buddhist monastery, Buddhist sect known as some Buddhist sect. Buddhist two sects are Mahayana itself. There are two sects. There are several sects. Two most important. That what is it? No, not Shunya. Yes, that is there. That. No, Vajrayana is Tibet. In this constantly chanting, that is yes. There they speak about unstruck sound. You in Bhubaneswar and Rishikesh, they have got their temples. Their temple is known as the temple. The temple, the gong, there is particular gong is struck with the hammer. Hammer is covered with felt, and it is struck. We also, when Khandana Bhavabandhana is sung, that gong is used. That gong is used by Buddhists. Tong, 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 that goes on. That is the anahata-dhvani. It is the anahata-dhvani that, yes, that Om that is heard is as tong, 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 or that they strike with the mallet. That is Om. Yes, yes. So, yes, Yatishwaranandaji has said that he used to hear this Om, Om, this one. Then I saw in this, in Bangla, there is the book, Nitya Puja Paddhati. Nitya Puja Paddhati. Jagan Mohan Tarkalankar. He speaks, and also Swami Atmapriyananda also in his article, in one article, he speaks about two kinds of anahata-dhvani. Two kinds of dhvani. Once Holy Mother, somebody told Holy Mother Sarda Devi that when he sits in meditation, she used to hear this unstruck sound. Then Mother asked her, do you hear it through the left ear or the right ear? She could not answer. Actually, the left ear, what Mother said, what we hear through the left ear, that is produced by food. That is not the real anahata-dhvani. Real anahata-dhvani comes from the deep, unstruck sound that comes from the infinite. That is heard through the right ear, not left ear. Mother says this. So, Yatishwaranji writes in his diary, in Wiesbaden, everything is covered with snow. I hear the sound of Om, Om, the unstruck sound, as I used to hear in Mayavati. So when I went to Mayavati, I had read Yatishwaranji's diary, and I wanted to know whether I could hear. Yes, I could also hear the sound, unstruck sound. When you go to Mayavati, in those days, now I don't know. In those days, Mayavati was very quiet. Not only quiet in the sense of sound, but nistabda, without any vibration, stillness and silence. Stillness and silence that you can experience in Mayavati, where we have got a retreat center, Mayavati. So that is also heard through the Vijnanamaya-atma. So Vijnanamaya-atma is the will. It is the Vijnanamaya-atma is what takes different forms. The idea of the bhavas, servant, the friend, Madhura, that is, Madhura is lover, and shanta, calm and quiet. All these bhavas, these are all assumed by the Vijnanamaya kosha. When the Vijnanamaya kosha, Atma, should be awakened, then only we can adopt a particular bhava with God, to look upon God as master, as a master, or as a teacher, as a guru, and other attitudes we can develop only when the Vijnanamaya is awakened. So we should all attain a minimum Vijnanamaya kosha can be awakened. That is Patanjali's yoga. In the Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, he speaks about two stages. One is the samprajnata, the other is asamprajnata. Samprajnata state is that in which you retain the high consciousness. In asamprajnata, high consciousness is lost. In the samprajnata state, the highest state of samprajnata is when you reach the Vijnanamaya-atma. Vijnanamaya-atma. Is there any other, if any? Yes, that inner light is the light of the Vijnanamaya-atma. When the Vijnanamaya-atma or self is awakened, you see the inner light. And we also realize that you are I am not the body, I am not the mind, body or mind, but the Atma. This understanding will come when the Vijnanamaya kosha is awakened. So minimum experience in yoga and in Vedanta is the awakening of the Vijnanamaya self, Vijnanamaya-atma.
Your experience of mentioning about light experience in Belur Math.
Yes, that is the experience of light, or that is the experience of Vijnanamaya-atma. Those who are form-oriented people are of two kinds of orientation. That is, some people are name-oriented, world-oriented. Some people are form-oriented. For instance, in my case, I am form-oriented. I don't like to chant the name mantra. Mantra generally is people like to, those who are name-oriented, they like to chant mantras. they find it difficult to visualize. There are two people at least. I saw one American devotee, Yati while giving Diksha, he told him he meditate on Sri Ram Krishna, and he gave him the mantra. He tried to visualize Sri Ram Krishna's image. However much he tried, he could not visualize. Then another sadhu, our Gautam, he also could not visualize Thakur, our eternal companion, says you begin with Thakur's feet, then step by step you meditate. In the case of form-oriented people, such a thing is impossible. They visualize the whole form. They can easily visualize. Some people cannot think of God as in the form. So such people should pay more attention to chanting the name. In my case, found it difficult to chant the name, but I could think about visualize the image. So in America, many years ago, at the beginning of this century, this was discovered that some people's minds are name-oriented, word-oriented. Some people's minds are form-oriented. So they saw, in that case, suppose a boy's mind is name-oriented. It is no use teaching him forms. The forms. In Montessori education, most of the, especially in blind children, they are given various forms and objects and try to ask to feel a banana. They know the difference between a banana and a pumpkin by touching. So then they found, suppose the boy's mind is form-oriented, name-oriented, then it will be no use teaching him to feel the object by touching. But then they conducted a survey. A survey was conducted to know how many people are name-oriented and how many are form-oriented. It was found that 90%, that is, majority, have both name-oriented and form-oriented. Most of us belong to that category. So we can think of Sri Ram Krishna or Christ as name and form both. So the survey showed that majority are oriented to both name and form.
talk about art in the chamber with two doors.
That I don't think they will understand. Anyway, in the Gayatri, the prayer for which all of us brahmacharyans chant Gayatri. The Gayatri is a prayer for the awakening of the Vijnanamaya kosha. That is good. Atmapriyananda reminded me of this. The Gayatri is a very good prayer. If Gayatri, you are not received Gayatri initiation, it doesn't matter. You can pray to Christ or God, even in your own way. That is enough. Anyway, the Gayatri, if you pray to Gayatri, Gayatri will lead you to the heart. Suppose in the dark you are groping in the dark. Once it happened, my college was situated from where the bus will stop, nearly 2 furlongs away from the college. So 2 furlongs I have to walk in the dark. And on both sides there was big gorge. The fear of falling into the gorge was there. I didn't have torch to flash lamp to see the way. So with great difficulty I was groping. That is called groping. You extend your hand and feel your way. So I try to grope my way further. Then suddenly, suppose you are groping in the dark, suddenly a cottage or a room comes, you come across a room. The room door is closed. Then you knock at the door. Somebody from within the door, they open the door. Somebody from within, that is, knock and it shall be opened. The Bible, Christ says in the Sermon on the Mount, knock and it shall be opened. Yo Brahmanam vidadati purvam yo vai vedamscha pranoti tasmai tamha devam atma buddhi prakasham. That which directs the Atman buddhi towards the Atman, Atma buddhi prakasham. Nobody knows the exact meaning of that. The popular meaning is that which directs the buddhi towards the Atman. So Gayatri prayer is that which directs the buddhi towards the Atman. Buddhi is what is known as the Vijnanamaya kosha. So when the Gayatri is repeated, the Vijnanamaya kosha awakens, and then the Vijnanamaya kosha awakens and opens the door of the heart. The heart is when you grope in the darkness, everything is dark, and then you come across a cottage, and the Gayatri will tell you to knock at the door. And the door, if you knock, the door will open at first, because and you find that cottage is filled with light. At first, you don't see anything, you see only the light. But if we go on persisting through meditation, if you go deeper, then you find another door, a second door. That door will lead us to the infinite. That second door can be seen only by people who are advanced in the spiritual life. So there are two doors. One door to the heart, and second door is within the heart itself. There is hidden a second door. That door will lead us to the infinite. It is like the funnel. A funnel is small at the one end. It is very small, and then it goes. And to open to infinite, the same way, the second door appears to be a small door, but it will lead us to the infinite. Those who take sannyas, like us, those who take sannyas, for them the first door will lead us to the second door. Then second door, there are what are called sannyasa mantras. The Guru will tell in the mouth, in the ear, Guru will utter for sannyasa mantras. The sannyasa mantras are Brahma Gayatri, Brahma mantra, Paramamsa Gayatri, Presha mantra, Mahavakya. So these are the four Maha mantras, sannyas mantras. This we can go forward only when the second door is open. The first door will open to the chamber of the heart. We see the inner light, and in the inner light, if we go deeper, we can see another door, second door. The second door is like the funnel. In beginning is small, it leads to infinite. That is what the Guru gives. So sannyasa has got deep meaning. Sannyas, we take sannyas after getting some kind of awakening in our order, we are given 9 years. 9 years to pass brahmacharya as a novice. And then we are given sannyas. In sannyas, given sannyas, the sannyasa Guru, he gives us 4 mantras. Sannyasa mantras. In Catholic Church also, the monks, they are ordained into the order, and then they are given spiritual diksha after 7 years. After 7 years, in our case, after 9 years. Jesuits, they are given only after they got different grades. Their highest grade Jesuit is given only after 16 years. So, this monastic ordination is mere not a ritual. It awakens. You get a new vision. Sannyas is not mere a ritual. It leads us to higher vision, higher experience.
Is it the same as Prajnaloka?
Prajnaloka. I saw the Prajnaloka. Yes. Prajnaloka should be interpreted as higher experience. But I find all the commentators have explained Prajnaloka only to mean Vaisharadhya, clarity of mind. They don't speak of light. I don't know why. Yes, Prajnaloka. But still, they explain Aloka and Vaisharadhya.
Explain the Vijnanamaya and Anandamaya, very difficult topic she wanted. So if anybody has any question, clarification, you can briefly summarize later on. You may briefly tell this.
We have been taught by some Swamis that the language of Vijnanamaya-kosha or Atma is more on symbolism, not like the common language. Is it true or not? That we can contact this layer of Vijnanamaya-kosha through symbolism.
In the beginning, symbolism, but later on, the symbol will change into reality. So you can, the light which you see inside is not mere symbol. You can actually see the inner light. Yes, that they can. I don't think they will be able to understand. That is light. When we see the light, our meditation becomes tunneling through light. Meditation, generally, how do you meditate? You meditate on some form, some image, and you meditate on Sri Ramakrishna or Jesus Christ at the most. You must have some form, or you must have, even you say formless, then it means some kind of light or akasha, sky, something that. Whereas when you advance, if you give up these images, then for some time you will be nowhere. You will be nowhere. Suppose you are meditating on Jesus Christ, the image of Jesus Christ. Suppose you are asked not to meditate on Jesus Christ, then for a few days you will be nowhere. How to progress? And then your own mind will be forced to develop its own understanding of Jesus Christ or Sri Ram Krishna. Suppose you are meditating on Sri Ram Krishna. If you are asked to meditate without form, then for some months, days or months, you find helpless. You find nowhere. You find you can't meditate. But after, if you try to visualize Jesus Christ from your bottom of your heart, your mind itself will produce the image of Jesus Christ. That is your image. That image is very much more real than the image produced by a photo or by an artist. You have given me yesterday, so 2 people gave me Christ, one Jesus Christ, the other one Madonna. Now, Jesus Christ, that is according to the Eastern Church, that image is based on Eastern Church. In the West, you don't find that kind of picture. In the West, you see Jesus as a small boy and Father as an old man. Whereas in the Eastern Church, it's a Madonna, Mother. It is a peculiar with a veil. She is bent on one side. So that is the picture. Suppose you are asked not to meditate on any picture, then for a few days you will be nowhere. You will find it difficult to meditate. Suppose you are meditating on Sri Ram Krishna. Then suppose you are asked not to meditate. I also did. In the beginning, I used to meditate on the photo, or we have got photo. In the case of others, only painting. Anyway, I meditated on the picture of Sri Ram Krishna. Then I found I wanted to meditate on formless, without form. God, I wanted to meditate on God without form. Then for about 2-3 weeks I was nowhere. I could not meditate. Then from the within, our heart, our soul will create another image. That image is to some extent real, more real than the picture painted by painters. So that kind of image, that also, suppose you give up that image, then you will find yourself nowhere. So such a state, very few people can face or understand. But if you persist, there is another door in the inner light. In the inner light, there is a small door. That door we generally don't open. Somebody will open us. Samhadevam atma-buddhi prakasha. Somebody will open the door for you. That is the Gurudev. Your Guru will open. In the case of Swami Brahmananda and others, this is what happened. Somebody will open the door from within, and then we will, in that door, we see a luminous path. That luminous path will lead us to the infinite world.
Yes, just summarize that concept. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Today Maharaj was explaining the Vijnanamaya and Anandamaya, and many of you perhaps found it too difficult to grasp. But anyway, since Internet wanted, at least we can record it now. Later on it will be useful for you. So thank you for coming, and 2 days of spiritual and physical food also was quite good. So program in the afternoon is you will go take a launch boat from here, have a Ganges trip, and across the Ganges go to Dakshineshwar, visit all the temples, etc., and come back. And today's evening, the dinner will be 7 o'clock. Because Swami Suviranj is coming. 7:15 is also all right. Between 7 and 7:15, you'll be brought here. You can have the dinner and we come to this room before 8. Swami Suviranj will meet you. So thanks for coming. Keep coming again. Ramakrishna used to say whenever somebody leaves, Abar Esho. Abar Esho. Abar Esho means come again. So this A-B-A-R-E-S-O. Take note of this. This is a Maha Mantra given by Ramakrishna himself. So he is calling all of you Abar Esho. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Our Sashtanga humble pranams to Swami Bhajananandaji Maharaj. At this age, with so much of eagerness, he was explaining the very, very subtle spiritual truths and practices in meditation and the experiences that we can get. He taught us that samadhi matram in the Yoga Sutra, at least up to that, you should be able to attain the opening of the Vijnanamaya and the realization of the inner light. Then the inner light will lead you to the highest, the second door. You don't understand whatever you can, at least theoretically we know what it is like. So now Antonetta will try to explain to you in simple Italian. After that, our lunch is at 12 o'clock. So thank you so much. Please come. Now, Swami, Swami Bhajananandaji Maharaj was editor of a magazine, journal, Prabuddha Bharata, started by Swami Vivekananda himself with Mayavati in Himalayas. He was the editor for 8 full years. So, a year consists 12 months, 12 into 8. So he wrote so many editorials. Apart from that, innumerable articles. So thematically we arranged and published some of them. We are in the process of publishing some more. So Bhajananji himself will hand over this to Antonetta for all of you. With the request they can freely translate into Italian and then keep publishing in your journals and magazines. So that in future, inshallah, when God wills, you can publish them in book form in Italian. So that is mostly it is bearing on spiritual life and meditation, etc. So this is such a useful thing because meditation word is used so much these days, become a buzzword. But what meditation is not, very few people understand. Very often there's huge misunderstanding also about what is meditation. Authentically, according to the Hindu scriptures and based on his own personal experiences, he's trying to pour out his heart and trying to explain what it means. So a whole set of books so far published. I will now hand it over to Antonetta. But it's still not announced.
È un po' difficile. Sentite? Dunque, l'argomento di oggi era un pochino più difficile. Quello di Swamiji penso che l'abbiate seguito. Avete letto tutta la tabella, vero? Chi l'ha letta? Allora, l'avremo traslitterata con le nostre lettere, ovviamente. Questo corso l'ha fatto anche su Sarva Yoga University, alcuni di voi l'hanno seguito, chi lo vuole seguire è registrato e lo potete fare. Ha spiegato le varie corrispondenze dell'Om tra gli stati di coscienza, le varie dimensioni dell'essere, le varie dimensioni cosmiche, insistendo sempre su questo parallelo che è tipico del pensiero indiano, ma che viene ripreso anche dalle scienze moderne, di una corrispondenza tra il microcosmo e il macrocosmo. E questo spiega anche perché molte discipline e spirituali e filosofiche insistono sul fatto di conoscere se stessi, perché conoscere se stessi poi di fatto ci porta a conoscere anche la realtà, non come fisici, ma come concetto di percezione della realtà. Poi ha spiegato i vari kosha ed è interessante quello che ci ha detto, che è meno noto da noi, che nei testi classici che spiegano i kosha, nelle Upanishad, spesso il termine non è kosha, è stato aggiunto dopo, ma il termine è Atman. Atma vuol dire corpo, ma corpo spirituale. Questo dà forse più l'idea che tutti i kosha derivano dal corpo centrale che è Anandamaya-kosha, che ne sono una cristallizzazione, potremmo dire, una densificazione progressiva. E poi ci ha spiegato i vari kosha e le corrispondenze anche con i loka. I loka sono delle dimensioni cosmiche corrispondenti alle dimensioni dell'essere individuale, non soltanto come potrebbero essere i chakra, ma proprio dimensioni che caratterizzano delle capacità, delle qualità, delle modalità di poter comprendere la realtà. Quindi sono i gironi, possiamo dire, più densi e man mano quelli più sottili, e l'ultimo che corrisponde alla Om completa è Satyam, la verità. Right, Marshall, right? Ah, ok. Ok. At your office in... where? Yes, I will come. Thank you. Thank you, Swamiji. Ecco, e questa è la spiegazione. E poi ha lasciato i due ultimi o i due primi kosha a Swami Bhajanananda, che ci ha spiegato Vijnanamaya-kosha e Anandamaya-kosha. Allora, questo è l'Om che ci ha spiegato, quindi non ritorno su questi argomenti. Anche lui ha insistito sul fatto che non troviamo nelle Upanishad il termine kosha, ma Atman. Kosha vuol dire forma, ma anche vuoto. In realtà poi ha spiegato che nessuno dei kosha è vuoto, né quello fisico, che è materiale, ma neanche quello energetico e neanche più sottili. Non ha spiegato bene perché è stato aggiunto questo termine kosha nel corso del tempo. Vijnanamaya-kosha lo ha qualificato come sede della volontà. La volontà è una delle tre qualità della Shakti. Shakti è l'energia universale, quell'energia che insieme alla coscienza ha creato tutto, e si chiama in sanscrito Icha. Cioè Icha Shakti, Jnana Shakti e Karma Shakti, questo lo aggiungo io, cioè c'è la forza che ci fa agire, la forza che ci fa capire e pensare, e la forza, è interessante questo, anche nella psicologia, che ci consente di decidere, potremmo dire il libero arbitrio nei nostri termini più occidentali. E è attraverso Vijnanamaya-kosha che si può stabilire una relazione con l'entità superiore o con il divino, come lui lo ha chiamato. Questo è un altro punto molto importante. Quindi, se dovessimo proprio riassumere in poche parole, sono queste le caratteristiche di Vijnanamaya-kosha. Icha Shakti, Karma Shakti e Jnana Shakti. Ed è necessario, lui ha detto, stabilire questa relazione, cioè l'incontro con la divinità non può avvenire se prima non si è stabilita una relazione. E questo è il livello, e poi ci sono diversi modi per stabilire questa relazione. il materiale, questa relazione col divino viene chiamata bhava, cioè devozione o sentimento, o attitudine, quindi ci sono diversi modi, diverse attitudini, diversi bhava di stabilire questa relazione, sia secondo il proprio temperamento personale, sia secondo altre leggi, come dire, più misteriose che non sappiamo spiegare. Ha parlato di Dakshya Bhava, che deve essere adottato come Bhakti, Rasayana, sono diverse modalità di intraprendere questa relazione, di caratterizzare la relazione, ma non le ha spiegate nel particolare, almeno io non sono riuscita a capire bene, perché ogni tanto mi perdevo anche le parole. E dunque questo bisogna, attraverso queste modalità, queste varie forme di bhava, stabilire e attivare questa relazione, e se non si attiva questa relazione con questi modi, con queste diverse attitudini, non c'è modo di completare il percorso dell'incontro col divino. Tutto quello che viene fatto senza questo ingrediente di bhava rimane a livello umano, non trascende il livello umano e quindi non può raggiungere la dimensione del divino. L'attitudine dovrebbe essere quella di considerare il divino come il maestro e la persona che si vuole avvicinare come un suo servo. Solo questa attitudine può diventare una vera relazione spirituale, altrimenti è una relazione, come dire, non così elevata, che ha definito umana. Il Bhakti Rasayana lo ha definito come una modalità privilegiata per stabilire questa dimensione. Quindi ci sono diverse attitudini, Shanta, Bhava, Madhura e Sakya, non le ha spiegate tutte. Shanta, lo possiamo intuire, è un'attitudine pacificata, benevola. Bhava è più devozionale e le altre non le ha spiegate. Bhava diventa quindi la relazione spirituale con risveglio spirituale e si attua con tutti i corpi, anche se è la specificità di Vijnanamaya-kosha. Quindi Vijnana sviluppa questa nuova relazione che va dal fisico fino alle sfere più elevate. Il secondo aspetto, appunto, è Ichha Shakti, è la facoltà di determinazione. Ha citato Platone e Aristotele, che anche loro avevano spiegato questa specificità della psiche umana. È sia una facoltà fisica che una facoltà emozionale, che una condizione anche psicologica e volitiva. E ha citato Jung su questo, parlando appunto della parte conscia e volitiva e della parte inconscia. E quindi la volontà diventa la motivazione per realizzare, o perlomeno per intraprendere, poi eventualmente realizzare questo percorso. E sono entrambe necessarie, la volontà, quindi la volizione, e la motivazione a intraprendere il percorso. Se manca uno di questi due ingredienti, difficilmente si realizza. Ha posto la domanda: chi è il cercatore? Il cercatore si concretizza proprio in questa sua dimensione che gli appartiene di Vijnanamaya-kosha. E il risultato di questa relazione è una visione, o forse un'immaginazione, ma non nel senso comune, del divino, che corrisponde al nostro modo di cercare. È come se potessimo avere, come dire, un divino su misura, traduco in parole anche un po' profane, ma perché a seconda della nostra intensità di motivazione, della nostra volontà anche di stabilire questa relazione e dell'incontro, si concretizzerà, ci verrà data questa visione finale, un po' colorata, diciamo, dai nostri input, ecco, se ho capito bene. Dio viene rappresentato simile a ciò che noi sentiamo. Riprende un po' anche il passaggio della Bibbia. l'uomo è creato a sua immagine, qui verrebbe da dire che ci creiamo noi un'immagine, ma gentilmente forse il divino si propone con l'immagine che noi vorremmo. Ed è questa l'esperienza spirituale. Anandamaya-kosha è il corpo causale e quindi non ha attributi in realtà, almeno quelli che noi conosciamo, che possiamo attribuire agli altri corpi, e viene chiamato Karira Sharira, corpo causale, e fa riferimento anche alla visione che spesso ha espresso Vivekananda. Nei suoi testi si trova spesso questa espressione dell'oceano, della goccia che in realtà noi diciamo si perde nell'oceano, invece lui dice la goccia che si ritrova nell'oceano, che diventa oceano, ma non si perde, non perde la sua identità, al contrario trova quella vera. Ed è appunto questo ocean body, questo corpo oceanico. Quando ci si immerge si ritrova la nostra vera natura, che è la totalità. L'oceano è il simbolo appunto di una immensità fatta di tante piccole unità. Poi ha fatto spesso l'esempio della chioccia col pulcino, ha fatto un lungo discorso della chioccia e il pulcino. In pratica credo che volesse dire, insomma, e che ha detto che noi dobbiamo essere un po' come i pulcini, che quando hanno qualche dubbio, qualche paura, qualche insicurezza si rifugiano sotto l'ale della mamma. Bene, questa totalità è un po' come l'ala protettrice per noi assimilati ai pulcini. Poi ha parlato della meditazione, appunto, che consente di raggiungere questo stato di Ananda. È solo con la meditazione che si può sperimentare, e la meditazione dissolve l'io individuale e lo fa diventare appunto un'entità immensa, universale, questo oceano di cui abbiamo parlato. Sì.
Durante il sonno io si perde nell'assoluto come il pulcino si tira sotto l'ala della chioccia e scompare.
Sì, forse ha detto anche questo, non l'ho colto, ma è probabile, sì. Spesso viene fatto il raffronto con il sonno profondo, con questo stato di Ananda, cioè il sonno profondo è una piccola, limitata coppia di questo risveglio, invece, che non è un sonno nel tutto, perché nel sonno il sonno profondo è un sonno deprivativo, cioè noi nel sonno non sappiamo chi siamo, non vediamo nulla di particolare, non proviamo Ananda, ma non proviamo neanche dolore. Quindi è un momento di limitata felicità dovuta però alla sottrazione del dolore. Però è l'esperienza più comune che abbiamo per poterci far capire eventualmente come potrebbe e quanto sarà bello invece una felicità che non è deprivativa, ma che è aggiuntiva, che è completa, che è totalizzante, come quella di Ananda, così come la descrivono tutti i mistici di tutte le religioni, non solo dell'India, che l'hanno sperimentata. Però è vero che il sonno profondo è quello che più ci avvicina per nostra esperienza personale a questa eventuale realtà molto più espansa e più colorata di sicuro. Grazie. Serve per diventare umano, serve per sapere che si è risvegliato. Allora, Vijnanamaya-kosha è quella transizione che consente all'essere umano, potremmo dire, di acquisire la sua massima identità, nel senso più nobile del termine, di essere un vero essere umano, e fare questo passaggio ulteriore verso una totalità completa, e questo viene chiamato anahata-dhvani. Ha parlato dell'anahata-dhvani. Dhvani è la sonorità in generale non strutturata. Dhvani è un suono non litterato, non quel suono che costituisce il linguaggio, che noi possiamo tradurre poi con un significato e anche scrivere con dei simboli grafici. E c'è questo appunto suono che risiede in anahata, perché è un suono che non ha le caratteristiche del suono fisico che deve essere percosso, ed è equiparato a quella luce non reale, non è una luce che noi vediamo normalmente nella nostra vita e che dovrebbe essere la caratteristica di quello stato di Ananda e di meditazione. Ha parlato poi del buddismo, del Mahayana, poi non ricordava l'altro ramo del buddismo, dove anche lì si parla di suono non percosso e si evoca questo suono non percosso, abbastanza comune nella tradizione buddista, con per esempio i gong che danno l'idea di un suono che si percuote e si propaga a lungo. E questo suono, ha precisato, è l'Om. Poi qualcuno l'aveva chiesto a tavola e ha parlato del sannyasi. Cioè, il sannyasi è colui che si impegna in un qualche modo a seguire in maniera più rigorosa rispetto a chi magari ha una vita comune, si dice persone di famiglie, a cercare questa strada. Allora, per ottenere il sannyasi in questa tradizione, ma direi in tutte le tradizioni serie, non quelle che lo regalano con un nome esotico. Per ottenere il sannyasi ci vogliono almeno 9 anni di noviziato, poi dopo il guru dà le 4 consegne del sannyasi, non le ha spiegate, insieme al mantra, e così si entra nell'ordine. Poi non è ancora finito, ci vuole almeno ancora un anno di intensa attività spirituale, e dopo 10 anni si può essere considerato Swami. Quindi questa è l'ordinazione nell'ordine monastico per entrare e per iniziare un percorso che porta a una visione più elevata della vita. Quindi chi ha fatto sannyasi è colui che rinuncia, è il rinunciatario, rinuncia al mondo per intraprendere una via solo spirituale, come i nostri monaci, come in tante altre tradizioni. Ecco. E quando otterrà risultati in questo suo percorso di ricerca, otterrà quella chiarezza di mente che si chiama prajna loka, cioè raggiunge uno stato mentale di sufficiente chiarezza. Questo è quello che ricordo e che ho annotato. Poi magari voi ricordate anche altri passaggi che ogni tanto mi concentravo nell'ascoltare cosa aveva detto e diceva qualcos'altro, quindi non so, voi avete notato qualche altro? Sì, ho fatto io la domanda, le ho chiesto perché è vero, in molti insegnamenti si parla di Vijnanamaya-kosha come una sorta di programma speciale. Quando lo spiego agli studenti lo spiego in questo modo: è come se avessimo un computer, abbiamo il programma Word o il programma Microsoft o Apple, e quello lo conosciamo. Poi abbiamo un computer con un altro programma di cui non conosciamo la modalità di esecuzione e quindi non lo possiamo utilizzare. Allora, in molte scuole, in alcune, si dice che il linguaggio tipico di questa stratificazione del mentale, se avete notato, la parte mentale ha 2 kosha o 2 atman, non ne ha uno solo come gli altri, proprio perché c'è una distinzione. Manas è tutto quello che riguarda la psiche, la mente, tutto quello che noi facciamo, percepiamo, sentiamo, memorizziamo, insomma tutte le attività mentali che conosciamo. E Vijnana rimane lì, cos'ha di speciale rispetto all'altro, tutto sommato. E allora in alcune tradizioni si dice che appunto Vijnana è una stratificazione mentale che è costruita per parlare un altro linguaggio e che bisogna conoscere quell'altro linguaggio. Questo linguaggio sembra, alcuni dicono, è equiparato al linguaggio simbolico, cioè un simbolo non è una lunga spiegazione razionale, cioè noi lo spieghiamo razionalmente un simbolo, ma l'effetto del simbolo è quello di imprimere, di dare proprio un'impronta nella mente che viene vista immediatamente come una visione, come un concetto, come un'idea. E questo è il ruolo del simbolo. È un linguaggio più diretto ed è come se nella stratificazione di Vijnanamaya-kosha ci fossero già le conoscenze, cioè come il computer che ha già tutto dentro, memorizzato, una grande enciclopedia, ma molto spesso non sappiamo come accedere a queste conoscenze, cioè abbiamo i file ma non abbiamo le password per aprirle. Allora, per dirlo in termini così un po' tecnologici, i simboli, e nello yoga i simboli sono grafici e sonori, quindi sono i mantra e mandala o yantra, sono il linguaggio, le password specifiche per far affiorare queste conoscenze che tutto sommato abbiamo già in noi. È un po' il concetto di inconscio collettivo di Freud e soprattutto di Jung. Jung ha vissuto 10 anni in India, quindi ha attinto molto a questa cultura, ovviamente. E allora gli ho fatto questa domanda e lui ha risposto invece parlando molto delle immagini e dicendo che di fatto ha spiegato la meditazione con forma e la meditazione senza forma. È molto più facile fare una meditazione con forma, vuol dire avere un oggetto di meditazione. Chi è devoto, l'oggetto prende l'oggetto della sua devozione, il guru, Ramakrishna per loro, e Cristo ha detto magari per noi. Quindi l'immagine è un po' come il veicolo, il punto di riferimento che tiene orientati. Poi se sparisce l'immagine, dice, allora ci sono dei momenti anche nella meditazione, quella notte dell'anima, quel buio dell'anima, dove ci si perde, non si sa più dove si è. Ecco perché è bene soprattutto cominciare e mantenere una meditazione con forma. Però poi dopo, se si riesce a superare questo periodo di buio e a insistere nella meditazione, ha detto che c'è una seconda porta molto più difficile da aprire. La prima l'apre l'immagine, il simbolo, la devozione, la volontà, tutto quello che ha citato. La seconda è quasi una grazia, l'apre o la grazia del guru o la fede che uno ha, perché chi è cattolico sa anche che esiste la grazia divina che dà dei doni così a sua discrezione. E allora questa seconda porta è molto più difficile da aprire, ma se si apre quella si è nel pieno di Anandamaya-kosha, cioè si vede una luce che non è luce, si sentono delle melodie che non sono suoni, insomma tutto quello che noi possiamo solo immaginare.